Well, my next guest has spent the last 22 years as an investigative journalist in Russia, focusing on Russia's security services. He describes what he calls Putin's new police state, writing this in Foreign Affairs magazine, quote, as Russian President Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine enters its sixth month, a dramatic shift has occurred in the Kremlin's security bureaucracy, and it is centered on the agency closest to Putin himself, the Federal Security Service, or FSB. As those plans faltered, however, Putin crafted a different, far more comprehensive mission for the SFB. It would be at the forefront of Russia's total war effort at home, as well as its intelligence operations in Ukraine. Andrei Soldatov joins me now. He's living in London after fleeing Russia. We often hear about the situation on the ground in Ukraine and the fallout in the West, of course. But insight into what is happening in Russia, the mood, the impact that this war is having on the people of Russia is more difficult to get. So I want to talk about the evolution of the SFB in just a moment. But firstly, you had to flee the country back in 2020. I know at least your mother is still there, your friends are still there. What's going on back home?
Well, it's quite dark, and we see that people are getting more used to this new reality. We are trying to adjust, which is human nature. They understand that to resist and sometimes even to talk openly about the war, it might be dangerous. Today, the last prominent Russian politician who stood against the war got arrested for spreading fake news about the war. So we all understand, and people in Russia all understand, that it might be extremely risky for them to talk against the war.
What's happening outside of the main urban areas? You know, so many people in Russia live outside of these main urban areas. And the impact, as I understand it, on people in the more rural areas is swinging at this point.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, you can see that economic crisis is getting bigger. It's not only about money. It's not only about the shops you have. It's about your jobs. And lots of people are fearful that come September, they can lose their jobs completely. And in some regions, you have enterprises which give the majority of jobs for the entire regions. And nobody knows what to do next. But the problem is that now you have the army offering an opportunity for young men. If they want to help their families financially, they can join the army. And lots of people think it's quite acceptable.
There's been a lot of coverage about how effective or not the sanctions have been over the past 6 months. The government has worked very hard to ensure that the impact isn't clear, and certainly, you know, the sort of falls in the euro, in the ruble that we saw at the beginning are over. But you're suggesting that the impact really is, you know, in certain areas of the country is very clear. Let's talk about the SFB. How has this organisation changed since the war began, and what do you believe the strategy is here?
Well, to be honest, the FSB was always quite ugly. We all know the history of this agency. It's been quite active at prosecuting and attacking troublemakers. But now it's not only about political troublemakers. It's about targeting almost every strata of the Russian society. We have the FSB now investigating Russian doctors for prescribing foreign-made medicine, because the idea is to introduce this import substitution, and it's part of your patriotic duty to prescribe a Russian-made medicine, which sometimes is basically not really good. It's also about being very openly brutal. Like, we had a scientist who was at his final stage of cancer, and everybody knew that. Nevertheless, FSB threw him into jail, and he died immediately. Nobody got punished, because the FSB was given these new powers that you can do whatever you want, and not only in Russia, but also in occupied territories. They were given this mandate to build these filtration camps, and it's a huge thing for the FSB.
They've been in the news again the death or the assassination, as it seems, of Daria Dugina of late. There was a lot of conflicting claim and counterclaim over who was responsible for that death. I want to bring up a tweet from Ukraine's national security advisor regarding the attack, the daughter, of course, of the Russian nationalist ideologue. He claimed the FSB is expected to organize a series of terrorist attacks in Russian cities with mass civilian casualties. Dugina is the first in a row. Now, look, the Russians blame Ukrainian Secret Service. The Ukrainians are saying they have absolutely nothing to do with it. She wasn't a Ukrainian civilian. She wasn't on Ukrainian territory. Realistically, do you believe that this is something the FSB was or could have been behind?
Well, it's a big problem here. First of all, we need to remember that the Ukrainian services, they're also quite good at conducting liquidations. If you look at the list of military commanders of the separatist regions, almost all of them got killed during the last 6-7 years. So the Ukrainians know how to do that. The problem is, would it be possible for the FSB to pull off something like that? Unfortunately, of course, we know that we can do that.
Why would they do that?
That's a big question, because we already see that the society is in this state of mobilization. Like, we are surrounded by the enemies. We are under attack of the West. The war was inevitable.
This is what people say. This is the narrative.
This is the narrative, and lots of people accept this narrative. In the first months of the war, I remember my contacts inside of the FSB told me, look, maybe the moment was not appropriate. Maybe we were not completely ready. But now it's changed. Everybody accepted that this war was inevitable. And they are, again, adjusting to this new reality. So the society is already mobilized and hysterical.
How long does this war go on? What's the perspective in Russia?
Lots of people now think that we are facing a very, very long war. And it might last for years, unfortunately. It's about two big countries. We have human resources, we have weaponry, we have a will to fight. And to be honest, I just don't see Putin to accept any kind of, I don't see an end strategy for him. What kind of victory he needs? The problem also that we have the military now, the Russian military, demanding for more war, not less. Actually, they think that all these huge casualties they suffered should be justified by a big price. So we are talking about the occupation of the entire Ukraine, of taking Kiev, of going to Poland, all crazy stuff. And this is also public opinion inside of the military. And Putin needs to find a way how to talk to them.
Frightening stuff.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for coming.